Alright guys, first rounds through the Canik Mete MC9L. So. That trigger is way too nice for this price. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be going over the Canik Mete MC9L. It is one of the two newest Canik pistols that were just released. The MC9L and the MC9LS. The LS just has a longer slide. I would have loved to get my hands on that one, but unfortunately this is all I can get my hands on. And with that being said, none of this would have been possible without Dave over at Liberty Guns and Gear. They provided me the pistol, the ammo, and the holster. I also want to shout out my buddy Mike for allowing me to borrow his red dot for the purposes of this review. So huge shout out to both Dave and Mike. If you are in the northeast quarter of Pennsylvania, definitely go check them out. Located in Mayfield, Pennsylvania. So look them up, go check them out. Dave will take care of you. So with that being said, let's jump right into this because I don't want to make this overly long, but you guys know how I am, so it may be anyway. But essentially, this is how it comes. Classic Canik. I've owned Caniks in the past, and this one is actually going to be pretty positive review. So as far as the case, this is the case. We'll pop it open. As you see, it's typical Canik fashion. So you have your slip folder with your warning and your owner's manual and a couple other pieces of paperwork in there. Up top, on the top side, you have your cleaning rod to run patches down the bore. You have your bore brush right here. So there's your bore brush. You have your takedown tool. So this is a this is the takedown tool. So this is so that you could punch out the pins for the back straps and so on. Speaking of the back straps, you have the two additional back straps right here. I think it comes with the medium size on it. I'll just confirm for you right now because I never really use these on any pistol. So large, and this is probably the smallest one here. No, so it comes with the smallest one. So yeah, I never really change these out. Have no reason to. You know, I have fairly decent sized hands, large hands for my size, but you know, I would imagine if you're 6'4", 6'5", something like that, you're gonna need, you know, maybe a little bit more to grab onto because you have such large hands. But you have that there, and then you have your little takedown tool here for all the screws. So it's your little Canik, and then the bottom, the base plate slides off, and then you have a bunch of attachments in there. And then on the bottom side, the pistol's obviously going to come inside this provided holster. This is the holster that comes with. Straight out the gate, I don't like it. I think it's geared strictly towards appendix carry. I don't appendix carry because I'm a fat body, so I don't do that. Maybe it works fine for really skinny guys that can take advantage of appendix carry, but to me it's just not a good holster, so I'll just get that out of the way. And then obviously you come with a second mag and a loader, which actually came in handy, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then here we have the pistol itself. So I'll close this over, and that is the pistol. I know the contrast isn't the greatest, so let me move this out of the way, and there you go. There's the pistol, right? So let me actually zoom in on this a little bit. There we go. So there is the pistol, the MC9L. So let's talk about some of the specs real quick. So the overall length is 6.27 inches. Overall height is 5.43 inches. Width is 1.14 inches. A little bit wider than typically found. I know that a lot of companies strive for that 1 inch mark, but I think the 0.14 is definitely going to come from the slide releases. Overall weight is 22.22 ounces without any ammunition in it. It does come with two 17 round magazines. I think you get extensions for it as well. Some of them do come with just one finger extension base plate. Some of them don't. Depends on which model you get. The again, comes with the magazine loader, the holster, punch and tool kit, cleaning rod, and jag rod, additional back straps, gun lock, manual. That's the whole shebang. As far as the rest of the gun goes, it comes with really nice sights. So they're metal sights, blacked out rear. So I don't know if that's going to come through at all. So blacked out rear, white dot front. And the really nice thing I like about these sights and the way they actually milled the slide is that you could run your red dot and you don't have to worry about moving to suppressor height sights. They line up and you can see them right through the glass, and you still utilize your iron sights if your red dot were to ever go down. So really nice backup sights or iron sights. I will say the white dot on the front is definitely larger than other pistols that I've shot, and the notch in the rear sight is wider as well. Personally, I like a tighter window so I can be a little bit more precise with my irons. However, in this case, it makes a lot of sense because this is a carry weapon, so strictly defensive use, up close to personal. So having that wider notch and the big dot will allow you to find that front sight post much faster. And this is what I noticed during my shooting. It does have a loaded chamber indicator, does have a striker cocked indicator, does have really good front and rear serrations. So I am a huge fan of the front and rear serrations, primarily the front because I do my press checks like so. That's just how I do it. It's not any cool guy crap. It's just that's how I do my press checks. It is optic ready. As you can see, it does come with the optic cut for it, so it is for RMSC patterned red dots. So there's no ability that I am aware of to go with different base plates. So RMSC is what you are stuck with. It does utilize the Glock style takedown. So I am not monetized, so I don't care about YouTube and their bullshit rules. So basically, take down, pull back, and then pull the trigger. Pulls forward about a ½ inch and then lifts off. So, and then when you line the side back up, you're going to drop it right over this right here, like that. And then once that drops in, back, and you're back in business. So, continuing on, they have large ambi slide and catch releases. So I really like that. I was a little concerned that this may have been an issue for my style of shooting because I like to get a really high grip, and I was assuming that throughout my shooting that would either induce a malfunction where the slide would get locked back during my shooting iterations, not on an empty mag, or the mag would go empty and it would not lock back because I was pressing on the slide release. Fortunately enough, over 500, I think 600 rounds that I shot, I didn't experience any of that at all. So really good there. And last but not least, it does have a standard 1913 pick rail on the front. So if you want to run like your TLR 7s and stuff like that, it will work on this. And you don't have to worry about any type of modifications or going with a different type of mounting pattern. So really good out of the gate, but there's other stuff that I've picked up on while I was using this that I really liked. So here's going down a bunch of the pros that I got out of this. So first off, it feels really, really good in the hand. I get a nice high grip, and my finger is right there, right in line for the trigger. I don't have to worry about reaching down and in or anything like that. It works really nice. Very nice grip angle, which I prefer. I'm not a huge fan of Glocks because of the grip angle. Well, one of the reasons, but this more neutral grip angle, very similar to like an M&P, was perfect for me because I primarily shoot M&Ps. So it was an easy transition to get behind this guy, get a nice grip, and maintain it. Speaking of the grip, you have really nice texturing on the front and back. So the front strap, back strap has really nice texturing, and then both sides have really nice texturing. It feels a lot like sandpaper, but it's not very aggressive, which is, I prefer a more aggressive grip texture. However, for the case of concealed carry, that doesn't work out very well. So in this case, it is soft feeling to the touch, but when you grab onto it, it's definitely grippy like sandpaper. So I really like that. The back straps are held in with roll pins, so you can just punch those roll pins right out and then swap out to whatever you need to swap out to. This beaver tail is actually really nice, and I don't know if you can pick up on that, but you see it starts to actually droop down on the back half here, providing pressure into the webbing of your hand, right where your thumb and index start to converge. And what I found is having that little drop or droop back puts additional pressure, which helps aid in that recoil mitigation or that muzzle rise mitigation. Now, I will touch on that because there is a negative in there, but when I get to that, I will tell you more about it. There is additional grip pads here, so you have these memory pads right here. I didn't find them to be useful. It's a nice feature, but I didn't find them to be useful because my thumbs don't even make contact with it. The only thing that I found was nice is that if my trigger finger was off the trigger, I use that as my reference point, and I could just keep my finger there, and that was comfortable. You know, if I started maybe drooping down or anything like that, I can pick up on that and get right back on that pad. But as far as using it for your support hand to try to help fight that recoil or that muzzle rise, it wasn't very effective there, but it's a nice feature. The magazine release is really nice, super positive release. You'll see here, so I'm parallel to the ground and it ejects pretty nice. So being upright, they just pop right out. So really nice with the mag ejector. I touched on the grip angle, I touched on the texture. I really like the large trigger guard. Now, I did shoot this with gloves, and depending on the gloves, sometimes the gloves can make contact when you're coming off, when you're like this and you transition into the trigger or into the trigger guard, you can make a little bit of contact before you get in there. So that's something to be mindful of, is how you present your trigger into the trigger guard. and onto the trigger shoe itself. With some gloves, you may get a little bit of interference there on your way in, but once you're in, I didn't have any problems with gloved shooting. Let's see, where else are we? One of my favorite parts about this lower, or the grip itself, is the undercut on the trigger guard. So a lot of guns, and I'm gonna use Glock as an example, so you can see there's kind of a double undercut here. So you got this undercut and then a little bit of a double undercut for your support hand to get up, and that's something you see a lot of people do on Glocks. Something that I've done in the past, where you make the undercut here nice, and then you do a double undercut so you can get your support hand a little bit higher as well. One of the additional things that's nice is here it's thin right in this area. So referencing Glocks again, because this is something I can speak to, because I did carry Glock 19 for a while, you will start to get what they call Glock knuckle, and this starts to get swollen, and then it kind of stays like that. So and that's from your knuckle rubbing up right here on the Glocks, because it's wide, and then there's no undercut, so because the beaver tail is higher than that, you're pushing up, and then you're actually applying quite a bit of pressure on that knuckle onto the bottom of the trigger guard. With this, I did not experience that one bit, and I actually really liked the fact that I can get a really comfortable grip on that, and that undercut came in handy big time. So that is a huge upside. It does have a really nice flared magwell, and I'm glad more companies are getting on board with this. But as you can see, this has a flare to it. So you can see that bevel right there with a slight cut. But if you look inside here, let's see if the lighting was going to help. Right there, you see how that is? No, I'm not doing the best job of showing this off, but very nice flaring on the magwell, and not once did I feel like I had to stumble with inserting the mags and catching on the, even doing dry fire drills or anything like that with a mag that didn't have ammunition, no problem inserting at all. You know, it was very smooth when I'm actually paying attention. So really nice feature. The other thing that I thought was a really nice touch was, instead of doing like a super deep cut or a pocket so you can grip and rip the mags, if you have a double feed or any type of malfunction, they actually textured the same texture on the grip on the sides of the mag, so it gives you something to really grip onto when you need to rip that mag out. Well thought out feature, in my opinion. The trigger is fantastic. I think that Caniks have some of the best triggers out of the box, especially when you factor in how cheap these guns are, or rather how inexpensive they are versus their competitors. So this trigger is fantastic. So I'm going to show you here. It is clear. You got quite a bit of take up, and then the wall and pull through. So you got take up here, wall, and then here's the brake, and an immediate, very minimal over travel, and then here's the reset, right back, very minimal over travel, maybe like a 1/16 of an inch of over travel. It's very minimal. So being able to shoot, or at least run this trigger really fast, was easy, and the trigger itself being as phenomenal as it is, especially at the price point, it's always been a huge selling point for me, and I really love these triggers. Let's see. Covered the beaver tail, covered the sights, mag ejection, textured base plates, mags loaded smoothly. Okay, so let's get into a couple of the cons that I found when running this. Okay, so first off is the recoil and muzzle rise. I noticed when shooting this from the first mag that I ran through, the muzzle rise was substantial, and the recoil was on par with my M&P Shield 9mm. Those are known for being pretty snappy. This was actually a very snappy pistol. Now, I don't know if the long slide version, the LS version, which is only a little bit longer in slide length, is going to help with that. Having a little bit more weight out front might kind of even that out a little bit. But from my time running this over the last few weeks, and I've been going to the range multiple times a week, running it, trying to get feedback, and I noticed that it is snappy. Now, it's not as bad as some other pistols, and I found that with this one, you got to have a really good grip, so a really good support hand grip, and you have to apply that push-pull method, so pushing your dominant hand or your strong hand into your support hand, and then when you're running it, that's helping. That push-pull will help keep that muzzle rise mitigated, and you don't have to worry about your support hand slipping off and then readjusting. It did take me a little bit to figure it out, but once I figured it out, I was able to run it pretty fast, no problems, and shrink down my groups. And I'll show you some of the groups later in a little bit. What else? Oh, here is the other con. The magazine, or both magazines. Now, they hold 17 rounds, and I confirmed it holds 17 rounds. The first 15 rounds that you load are going to be easy. The 16th load starts to get a little bit hard, and then the 17th round is very, very difficult, and that's where I was using the mag loader to help assist in that regard. Now, I did notice over the course of shooting the 600 rounds that I ran through this, because I did incorporate some PMC 115 grains that I ran through, it ran fine. And as what I was doing was I would run some full mags, I would run a couple, maybe 5 or 10 rounds. Then I'd run a couple full mags. Then I'd run maybe a 15 round mag. And working that, the spring and follower multiple times over the course of testing this pistol, it did become easier eventually. But that last 2 rounds, it's difficult and then pretty damn hard to insert that last round into the mag. So that's the caveat. You're gonna have to work the mag, and then I'm assuming it has to break in a little bit to get easier, because it did eventually get easier. But that was the one thing that really stuck out to me was loading the mag, and then the other thing was the recoil impulse, or the recoil being so snappy and creating quite a bit of muzzle rise. Personally, if I could make any changes, I would make this beaver tail higher, so you bring down that bore axis just a little bit to help with that. And I think that would also help with the way it feels as well, because that reciprocating mass being higher, you're going to have more felt recoil, you're going to have more muzzle rise. So how did it shoot in terms of the accuracy? So I'll show you. In the beginning, I was running it just without the red dot, so just irons, and I ran it for about 150, 200 rounds with just irons. And then I switched to the red dot. So with irons at 10 yards, this was one of my groups, so it's 10 yards, and it's a 7 1/4 inch spread vertically. At 50 yards, this is at 10 yards, 50 rounds, 7 1/2 inch, or 7 1/4 inch rather, vertical spread, and this was shooting at a 1/2 second splits. So, as you can see, I got quite a bit of vertical dispersion, which I attribute to the recoil mitigation, having that pronounced recoil impulse and muzzle rise, and then me not really getting a handle on the gun at first, and then so that's why you're getting a lot of vertical dispersion where it's, you know, rising and falling like that, because I'm not really controlling the gun the way it's supposed to be controlled. When I did slow down to about a 1 second split, I was able to tighten it up to 4 7/8 vertical spread. So not bad, 10 yards, right? But I know that I can shoot a lot better. Over the course of the couple weeks I had it, I was doing dry fires, practicing locking in my grip and that push-pull method. And then my most recent range trip after I switched to the red dot, so be mindful, I didn't shoot it before and after I mounted the red dot, after getting, you know, quite a bit of dry fire practice and refining my grip. But this is what I got here. So this is with 3 different loads. This was, I didn't do all 50 rounds of the PMC Bronze 124 grain. So before I get ahead of myself, I shot 400 rounds of MagTech 115 grain. And then I shot PMC Bronze 100 rounds of PMC Bronze 115 grain, 50 rounds of PMC Bronze 124 grains. But by the time I actually started paying attention, I had only had 18 rounds left, and I shot that group. I shot 50 rounds of SMB, so cellular and below, 124 grain. And then again, this is the MagTech to the left. So MagTech, SMB, PMC Bronze. I actually did not measure these, so give me 1 second so I can see exactly where I'm at with this. So for the MagTech 115 with a red dot, let's just say you're talking a hair under 3 inches, so 2 15/16 for the MagTech. This one was a pull, I know that because I remember calling it. So 16 inches at 10 yards. That's a 50 round group. This one here, this SMB 124 grain, that was another pull, random. As you can see, this is the mean group, and this is another pull, not paying attention to what I'm doing. So go from lowest to highest. So this one ended up being about 2 3/8. So 2 3/8 inches, 50 round group at 10 yards. And then this one's only 18 rounds, but I got a little bit more vertical dispersion here. I don't even remember if I was like trying to be serious with this, but this one was 2 3/4. So 2 3/4 inches for those 18. I'm sure I would have eventually just narrowed it down and probably been right around this area. But overall, it's a very accurate pistol, but you have to train with it to understand that recoil mitigation, impulse, and the muzzle rise. So for 50 round groups, and except for this one, 18, so we can kind of forget that one. But for the 115s and the 124s, especially the SMB 124s, it was very, very accurate with that load. Now, one thing that I will say is that the MagTech 115s were actually, I felt more recoil on those than I did with the SMBs and the PMC Bronze, both the 115s and the 124s. So very, very good performance in terms of accuracy. So what is my overall thoughts on this pistol? Well, I actually really, really like it. The whole time that I had it, I carried it almost every day. Everywhere I went, I put it on. Thanks to Dave hooking me up with this optics cut holster from Rounded Holsters. This is the right-handed optic cut inside the waistband. Much prefer this over the one that they sent. And I carried this every day, and it was super, super comfortable. I didn't have any issues with digging or pinching, especially for being a bigger guy. I did not experience that. It sits very nice in there, very compact. You see it has the cut for the optic. Speaking of the optic, just want to touch on it. This one is the Romeo Zero. So it's, I think, their most budget one. And this was pulled off of my buddy Mike's own 22 pistol. So those groups were high and to the left, and that's because I didn't want to change the zero because it's going to go right back onto his pistol as soon as I'm done here. So overall, I actually really like this. I would love to compare it to the LS in the future and report on that to you guys and see if there's any difference in recoil, impulse, and muzzle rise. I'm going to assume that there will be, but I have no way to tell you as of right now. But overall, I really like this pistol, so much so that I actually want to buy one. But I don't know if I am, because I'm a poor. So there's that. But overall, I really like this pistol. I think it's a really good pistol, especially for somebody who's looking for something that's optic cut already, that is more budget minded, and it has a really good track record of being a very reliable pistol. These Caniks they've been everywhere and anywhere you could think of. They run, and they run extremely well. And again, you have the optic cut already. Only runs the RMSC pattern, but has the optic cut. That's the plate that comes on it. And it has a fantastic trigger, good grip angle, good grip texture, 17 round mag capacity, which is fantastic. So I don't know how much more I can say about this, but overall, very positive. And I understand that there are some negatives in terms of the recoil impulse, muzzle rise, and the mags being difficult to load at the 16th and 17th round. However, everything's a give and take, so don't take my review as the end all be all. I'm only one individual. Do your research, take everything into account, and then come to your own conclusion based on an educated thought process, not just your favorite YouTuber or whatever, and go from there. So, but otherwise, I personally think that this is good to go. And I know it's not 1,000 rounds like some people, but I work with what I got. So thank you for watching. Please let me know what you think about this gun. If you have one, let me know how it's been for you. And if this is something that you've actually been interested in, let me know if this review has either helped you or swayed you from it. All feedback would be welcome. Also, I know my reviews tend to be long-winded, but I like to give you as much information as possible. And I'm not just regurgitating what other people are saying. I'm giving you my full-on experience and truthful thoughts, because that's just the type of individual I am, and I hope that it helps you. So thanks again. Leave a comment on what you think about this, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks.